What's up, Philadelphia sports fans? I am Anthony Pinto,
And I'm Greg Hall.
and we are War Room Philly. We were War Room
OG,
Philly, and we
the
are War Room
OG.
Philly.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
special guest Greg Hall from We Podcast and We Know Things. You know what? I didn't even realize the shirt until just now. That's awesome. I
What up?
love it.
What up?
But yeah. So Greg is for anybody new tuning in or old maybe forgetting, other than like Joe Heston out there. But
Ryan Murphy, got to throw some
yeah,
more.
yeah, Murph's Philly Murph in chat. You know, a couple of the guys will definitely remember you. But Greg is the first co-host, or really the first host. I was the co-host, if you will, back in the day. However, we did it. But yeah, we were.
We
This
kind
is
of just went and
yeah,
did it, you know?
exactly like how it's happening now.
6 years later.
But yeah, Keith is currently on the mend. Had minor back surgery, and real quick, just wishing all the best wishes and a speedy and safe recovery to Keith. While we got it in mind.
Yeah,
Um,
of
but
course.
uh, but yeah, it's Greg. It's good to have you on. It's you picked a good week. A few things have actually happened.
I, I was like, oh, yeah, we'll figure it out. You said, yeah, we'll, write some stories down over the week. And then it all kind of just happened.
Yeah, the last two
And
days have really been jam packed, which is
everything happened. It's been crazy.
yeah. So we're just kind of throwing it around. We got Cam Newton to the Patriots, which I know this is it's War Room Philly, but hey, that's big news, and we're all
It's huge
football
news.
fans, right? So
Yeah, it's huge news if he can stay healthy. I
yeah,
would love to see Cam Newton be successful in New England. I would love it.
yeah, like
Shove it up
so
all their asses.
So
I
I
don't. I
am. I
love
like
it.
that's that part of me, yes. But also, I'm so sick and tired of the Patriots that it's like, go away. You know,
But it's like almost like a new era of the
I
Patriots. Now we
get
get to
it.
hate. Now we get to hate the Bucks,
Yeah,
and they're in our conference because the Bucks are on ESPN and NFL Network 23 hours a day now. So
yeah, and that's kind of gonna be it's gonna be like the interesting storyline throughout the years. Who won the breakup, Greg? Was it
yeah,
Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, or was it Cam
this
Newton and the Patriots?
this reminds me of. I think it was.
That like hurt my brain to say actually though. I'm surprised I didn't screw that up.
I think it was somewhere between. It was definitely between somewhere between 13 and 16 when ESPN constantly were talking about the Jets, and it was Tebow time and all that stuff with the Jets, and I just was like, but the Jets suck, and
Yeah.
like it's gonna be the same thing. Tampa Bay's not gonna suck. They're obviously gonna be much better than the Jets were even back then, but like I personally think, listen, the great run defense, obviously an outstanding wide receiver core. Their running back position's a little out there. Gumbawale looks like a decent player. Great two tight ends, or at least on paper. But I just don't know. I just don't feel they're not better than the Saints. That's not the case, and I just don't know if they have what it takes to even win a wild card this year. And then by the time they gel, Tom Brady will be 46 or 47, and then he'll be almost at a in retirement. I just don't believe all the Bucks hype.
Yeah, are they even better than the Falcons? You know, it's like that
the
to me is like that's going to be their competition, and you know what I mean. It's like who wants to be 8-8 more?
Yeah, the
Uh,
Falcons lost Austin Hooper, which is low key a kind of important position because he was one of the better tight ends in football. I think he just landed the richest tight end contract in history or something crazy. Um, they lost Devonta Freeman, who's kind of been hurt the last year or two. They lost what's his face last year, I believe to the Niners. I can't remember who, Tevin Coleman. So their run game's a little suspect. Matty Ice, but again, you have Julio, you have Calvin Ridley. You can do a lot with that offense.
Matty Ice has seen the effects of global warming, in my opinion. He is warmed down, but in the bad way. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But yeah, we'll. You know, it's that's an interesting division. That's going to be a tight division. It's sort of. It seems to me that it's like more going to be competing for second. I guess I think the Saints. In my opinion, the Saints are probably the class of the NFC.
Yes, they're still the most talented roster in the NFC, and oh, by the way, they got better.
Yeah.
Like, so I mean, they lost Mark Ingram last year, and you could tell that hurt because Alvin Kamara just wasn't ready for that full-time role. Latavius Murray did a really good job, but he wasn't quite Mark Ingram. And
Yeah.
I think another year there, he understands the system better. I think they're just a well-oiled machine. Drew Brees is healthy again. If he does get hurt, I am not ready for the major networks to talk about Taysom Hill again all friggin' day. But I think the Saints are clearly the best team in the NFC.
Taysom Hill, who was undrafted, by the way.
I thought it was seventh round. Yeah, no,
was
he was
either way,
undrafted.
7th round undrafted. But I just like to throw that out there, not to diss him, but for the people who like to say Jalen Hurts is going to be our Taysom Hill, I'm like, you got no, because that was a 2nd-round pick, and it's a lot different. But that's a conversation possibly for a different day. Bucks win that division. I'll make the Wawa bets from Joe in chat, who also says just like old times.
Yeah,
just
like
yeah, you have been with us recently, but it was a bit of a threesome with Keith and I.
We did a hell of a draft night thing.
That was insane. I recently looked, and that YouTube clip, or like 20-minute clip for that show, has gotten like well over 1,000 views, which I was like, phew. Only my Native Maze videos get that kind of view.
I don't know another outlet that wasn't a major media outlet that did what we did that night.
Yeah,
like,
we just
pick by pick all night.
Yeah, we were trying to keep it, Philly sports central, if you're centralized, if you will. But yeah,
until after their pick. After their pick, it was kind of just like a free for all because they made the pick, they weren't moving back in, and that was a friggin' night.
Yeah, that was a fun. That show went way easier than my anxiety did. Built it up beforehand.
we also did a recap of the draft.
Yeah, and that's what, so we had a couple shows, recently. But yeah, let's get back to nowadays. Yeah, Bucks winning that division though. I really can't see it. Brady's good. I still think Brady is, I still think he's one of the best right now even. And yeah, it's a good core, but
he's probably top 12. I mean, he is top 12. I would say he's probably in the 9 to 12 range.
Yeah.
You take away, like, for me, if you have to say that a quarterback's weapons are the reason he's good, which in my opinion, right now it kind of is, then he's not an elite quarterback. You look at what Carson Wentz did with nothing, and people would still put Brady ahead of him. You look at what, even Cam Newton had Christian McCaffrey. I know he was hurt last year. He's been hurt often. But he's had Christian McCaffrey. He's had Kelvin Benjamin. He's had DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel. I can't remember the other breakout receiver they had. At one point, he had Ted Ginn Jr., who's a burner. Yeah, but, like, you can't judge. Yeah, there you go. You can't judge a quarterback by their weapons as to how good they are. And I think right now, if we were talking fantasy, then yes, Tom Brady is probably ahead of Cam Newton, probably ahead of Carson Wentz, maybe by like a spot. But in real life NFL football, I can't judge a quarterback just solely on his weapons. I have to go on his talent. And he will go down as the greatest quarterback of all time. I will not deny that. But if he was still in New England with the weapons they have there, I do not feel like there would be as much buzz about Tom Brady just because he's a new face in a new place after 20 years. That's a pretty big friggin' deal. But you have Godwin and Evans and Gronk is back and O.J. Howard. And so you have a ton of weapons. And that's, I think, half the darn reason why he's getting so much notoriety. Plus, he's Tom freaking Brady.
Yeah, so you got Brady at, like, what's his Madden rating? Like an 87 nowadays?
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be a 99 after they update it. The Bucks go 1-0. They're like 99.
But yeah, I'm gonna already derail us, but I bought that Super Mega Baseball off of a recommendation from this podcast I listened to, that's gonna hold me over on Madden until Madden price drop. Maybe around Christmas.
Yeah, you can get that on Black Friday probably for like half price.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I'll wait. I've already, every time I buy Madden, I'm like, I'm never buying a Madden again. But then like 2 years passes, and I'm like,
yes,
I'll buy a Madden.
I'm at like the 2-year thing. I might skip this year too. It was the games for EA that are coming to Switch were leaked, and Madden wasn't on that list, so good call. But if it's, I don't know. I just have so many other games in my backlog that I don't really want to play Madden
see,
anymore.
I would love to play Madden on my Switch, but I try to play NBA 2K, and
It's pretty rocky.
to every time, so like I go to play 2K because I'm like, oh, like Jamie's gonna be doing something. I got like I can play 2K real quick, and it's cool. It's like it's kind of like a basketball game on. It's a good time to get it in, and then I gotta wait literally over an hour before I can play it for an update, and it's like,
and
and
you don't have that problem with Super Mega Baseball 3. Download it.
If you cancel the update, the game just refuses to run properly. It's like it gets on my nerve. I'm like getting enraged thinking about it. But
Super Mega Baseball 3 is the most fun I've had playing a sports game since MLB 2K.
I played 2 games. Like I said, immediately after listening to your podcast, I went home and bought it that day. Played 2
pricey.
games. It is. It's $45, but if you want,
it's a full baseball sim. There's no messing around.
The way I see it is, there's like I'm looking at it 2 ways. Obviously, there's no real baseball players, so you can look at that as a bad thing, or you can look at it as it's timeless. Like there's no like I want to buy the new Madden because I want a roster update. I'm paying $60 or $40 for a roster update that can be simply done.
Right, and there's teams you've never heard of in divisions you've never played in with players. That
my home team is in Red Rocks.
Right, yeah.
That's my dream. I want to see a concert there more than anything. Now I play baseball there.
I'm the Wild Pigs at Apple Field, baby.
We're the Wild-Loads.
my favorite players were Bloop Evans. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Bloop Michaels, Flash Evans, and Spanky Wagner. You tell me that Spanky Wagner isn't the greatest baseball name ever. And I love it. They do like little things where they'll name a player like baseball references.
Yeah, like, Wade Hoggs or something. Yeah, I think I saw one.
It's great. It's such a fun game. The character models are hilarious. It's great. It's like a sim mixed with an arcade, and it's just so much fun. So I definitely recommend it, even if you're playing SpongeBob Rehydrated. Yeah, I feel bad for you, but
I was gonna say Joe's playing SpongeBob. I haven't even peeped that on Twitch yet. I haven't seen any gameplay or anything.
I'm gonna pass hard on that. I'm finishing The Last of Us right now.
Is that a remake, or is that because you said
it's
Rehydrated?
It's a remake of Battle for Bikini Bottom on the GameCube, I believe it was.
Okay.
Now remade on Switch and getting worse reviews than the original, saying it's just a mediocre upscale. So
that's rough.
I don't know if I believe that. The fans are happy with it, so I'm happy for them.
That's good. But yeah, we're getting back into it. We have a show to talk about. I guess we started talking about one thing.
Cam Newton. We didn't talk anything Philly yet. Newton and fake baseball.
Cam Newton. But so we are gonna talk. We're gonna talk all the football you guys want to talk. We got the Phillies 60-man roster. It's 54 right now. Some if we want to stick to football, a little Eagles offensive line. We can bring up NHL talk. We got everything tonight, guys. So if it's on your mind, bring it tonight. But yeah, just I guess sticking with football and the general theme, we were talking about like in pre-show and stuff about the Eagles offensive line, the Brandon Brooks injury, kind of one of the overgoing themes, and it almost seems easy, is does Jason Peters come back?
And if he does he play right guard?
That's
crazy.
It almost to me has to be like, so for me at least, Jason Peters can't come back and be given left tackle.
No, Dillard's got to earn the spot and or fail horribly. But at that point, you just wasted a first-round pick, arguably if you count Barnett as a potential bust for the second consecutive year, and that's a lot to swallow on Howie, who just drafted Jalen Reagor, who we love, but that was probably a bit of a climb.
Yeah.
So it's like me in fantasy football. I get all the other picks right, but I always blow my first-round pick. I took DeMarco Murray one year at number 6, so it'll tell you all you need to know.
We all make mistakes.
It was when he was with the Eagles. Just Chip Kelly ruined him, so there's that. I lost that. I came in dead last.
Chip Kelly ruined a lot of things.
So I would expect Peters to be back. I think it's inevitable at this point.
So
there's no rush to sign now. We don't know the landscape, so why would Jason Peters commit to something at 38 years old, soon to be 39, when there's really not a reason to? There's no other team busting down the door. If there was, he already would have signed. I know Cleveland had an offer out for him, but who knows who wants to go play in Cleveland. Um, so I think it's inevitable he comes back, but I think it might even be we might even see it into training camp when we get a look at if there is one. If we get a look at Dillard, if he's looking okay, if there's an injury. So I think it's only a matter of time. But I think if he comes back, he's your starting right guard. I think he'll do a great job. I honestly do. I'm looking forward to the inevitable uh, false start that he
Oh yeah.
every game. But other than that, he plays a solid. You know, can you imagine a left tackle for his whole entire career ending his season at right guard and then getting to go in the Hall of Fame with that kind of like you came back and saved the season type of thing. And who knows if that'll be the case or if he'll save a season. But we right now do not have a right guard, and that's scary. That's scary.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know like Matt Pryor is, the
Oh,
name that they
he
want.
played okay. He
Yeah,
played
and
okay.
he played better than Dillard at that position. And
Yeah,
in my opinion, that was really Dillard's only downfall last year. Now, look, I
and
didn't
that was in
watch.
a playoff game. That was in a playoff game too. Prior.
I didn't watch the tape, the coach's tape. I watched just what we saw on the field. And to be honest with you, when Dillard played left tackle last year in small, dribs and drabs, I thought he played decent
Yep.
to well.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, I think we're gonna see, at least a slight improvement or bigger going into this year, knowing he's the starter. Training camp could be dicey this year. It's going to at least be somewhat like we've had a virtual off season. It's still going to be somewhat of a weird training camp, even if we do get it. So we got speaking of while we're on that subject, just literally just before the show started, we found out that we lost 2 preseason games.
Which is Dillard's. That was Dillard's opportunity.
Yeah, I mean that's you're going to be cutting down now. It'll be curious to see what the roster size is going into training camp, but you're essentially, usually got to go from 75 to 53 in those 4 games, and that first and fourth game was where you really got to look at those bubble guys.
They're going to expand the rosters, though. They're not going to do 53. If they're going to cut the preseason and with potential,
that's a good point.
they're going to expand. I don't know how much, because even baseball did it weird. For the first 2 weeks, it's 30, then it goes down to 28, and then it goes to 26 for 20 with 27 on doubleheader days. So they added basically after the first month 1 player to the full 25 man. Obviously, with the 60-player rotating taxi squad or 3-player taxi squad, 60-player roster, whatever you want to call it. It's all kind of confusing. But that to me was like, what do you think? Coronavirus is gonna be? Oh, baseball's back. Let me go away for 2 weeks. Like it's 2 weeks. Why even do that? Make it 30 for the whole season. Give the prospects an opportunity to shine. I want players to come up, and because 60 games, not a huge sample size. Like there will be teams. I don't want to get too off topic, but there's going to be teams that will surprise you. There will be players that stay hot all season. There will be players that never get hot. And this whole baseball season is going to be so crazy that I would have loved the expanded roster. You take that to football, which is arguably the sport of them all that requires the most overall talent and could be the most highly executed league in the world of all sports. And to say you have a 53 that you only activate 45 or 40 on game day, and then it's 3 players tested positive. Well, now you're down to 50, and that could be at a spot where you only had 1 backup. To me, those rosters are going to be 60, and that's probably the number. Maybe 7's a little too high. Maybe they'll add 5. But if I'm Goodell, well, he hasn't done anything right, but I'd have gone with an expanded roster to about 60, especially with only 2 weeks to evaluate.
Yeah, you're talking about if I'm Goodell. I mean, really, it almost feels like today was the first time the NFL really acknowledged the coronavirus. Like, all right, we did the virtual draft, and that was cute.
Yeah.
But, like, really, today was the first day they acknowledged, oh, by the way, there's a global pandemic. We are going to do, bare to minimum, and we're going to cut 2 preseason games and check back in. We'll see.
Yeah, but you still have to pay for them.
We might make fans sign a liability waiver if they want to sit, because we're not going to rule out that they can't come in. We'll say that they could risk their lives instead, but can't sue us.
And other people. Let me catch you at the stadium and go home to my loved ones. Are you fucking... Oh, sorry.
No, that's fine.
Are you serious? Like, I can't believe the audacity of these leagues. Hey, we're the NBA. Let's go have a bubble. Great idea. Where at? Somewhere safe? No, Florida.
Speaking of things that are doing it right, again, let's go hockey. They're going to Canada.
Yeah, dude, the coronavirus.
Like,
And if you're going to Canada, don't come back. Like, they should be up there the entire tournament. They should not be coming back. Again, I know there's 2 hub cities or whatever, so they're not going to leave. But you got to make both those hub cities up north. I don't want Chicago or Vegas. Like, come on, stop being stupid. I understand, like, the U.S. has that appeal with time zones and stuff, and I don't want playoff games to start at 10 o'clock at night. But there ain't nobody in the stands. And people working from home. You don't have prime time. Isn't what it is anymore.
And let's think about it. There's all 4 sports are in theory going to be rolling, right? So
at one time, yeah.
So screw it. I'm down for like the Phillies at 5 or 6 because they're gonna be doing weird times too. And then boom, that gets done, and there's a playoff hockey game. Let's go.
God.
I just don't know.
The craziest thing.
Cup.
The craziest thing is there might not be any sport.
Yeah. And again, like, I want to stay
baseball.
positive.
I feel baseball will start. There's no doubt in my mind baseball will start.
Yeah.
I don't know if baseball will finish.
I think
the other 3 sports, I'm actually legitimately concerned.
I think if hockey can, especially if they're willing to adapt it in Canada, where the numbers are the spikes have been under much more control than here.
Because they're a good country that knows how to follow rules.
Because they argue politics and not science. But like, so where they're becoming educated instead, we're just still acting like it's fake.
You're taking away my rights.
But yeah, in Canada, this is about hockey, and I think if they're willing to adapt the bubble, where now Adam Silver's gone hard turn on campus. He's really trying to push the campus word now.
Yeah.
Because it's not a bubble, and I think especially if hockey can one up it, and it's look, to the NBA's credit, something like I saw 150 million they're putting into this, and unfortunately it's still not enough because they got to keep the workers in too, and I think then it is a bubble, and then you have a really good shot of not only starting but finishing a season.
The most asinine
if
thing
hockey can do that, especially in Canada, we're golden.
Yeah.
But
the most asinine thing that you had to just say there wasn't you saying it like it's the NBA. It's 150 million. The playoffs alone for the NBA, that revenue is about 2 billion. So, and I don't know the numbers, but like if that's true, if they're going to just invest 150 million to try to keep everybody safe, and they'll still collect on 1.85 billion dollars to split between 30 owners, like that's just a little depressing to know. The health and safety of your players, man. Like, I think Ian Desmond, when he backed out of the 2020 season for the MLB, I thought that was really heartfelt. I thought Ryan Zimmerman backing out was
a couple Nats, right?
Yeah. It was really, I can't blame any player who says no. And even the Sixers. Oh wait, never mind. He got hurt. Again, Zaire Smith.
Yes, and it's weird. We only talk about Zaire Smith. We'll go back to baseball real quick, and we'll talk basketball a little later. But we only talk about Zaire Smith when he gets hurt, or we find out that he's hurt. It's like,
so you always talk about it. Got it. Got it. But like football, like if you have to sign a waiver, I mean the Eagles. I heard this thought on a podcast earlier, so this isn't my original thought. But the Eagles have to go to Arizona, and there was a proposed idea that the NFL travel schedule this year would be you fly out game day and then you fly home right after the game. There isn't those fly out Wednesday, Thursday, stay and you get used to the time zone and everything like that. You want to talk about home field advantage for the team that doesn't have to do the traveling at that point. You imagine the Eagles leaving on a red eye to Arizona to get there in the morning, have their clock be 2 hours behind, go play a road game against an up-and-coming Arizona Cardinals team, and then have to fly right home. That's a really difficult task, and there's nothing been official about that. But these things about the NFL are starting to trickle in, and now we know that Goodell has a brain, and he knows coronavirus is real because he canceled the preseason. There's a potential for waivers. There's this travel thing. So they're finally starting to talk about like recovery plans and like what ifs and backup plans. Finally tells me that there is a real, absolute possibility that this never gets off the ground because I told you I believe baseball's coming back because you can prevent contact outside of a runner being on first and the first baseman covering the bag. Like I feel like you can absolutely, you know, prevent that, especially if the catcher wears a batting glove when he throws it, so it's not like direct contact ball. Football is the ultimate contact sport. Hockey, ultimate contact sport. Basketball, plenty of contact going on there.
Yeah,
Literally
you
every
you
drive
post up, you're literally just rubbing sweat on each other,
and
and then
like
you get a lot of that in football too. At least in hockey, you can make the argument that like you're sort of covered, especially if maybe they get like a nice neck gaiter.
well, they can do
But
the face. They can make face shields mandatory, like the full clear shield. Players hate that because it fogs up and they're not used to it in their field of
visibility,
vision.
yeah.
But like, you know,
There's
man,
only
even
so much
still,
you can do. Yeah.
hold on, you lay a check into a dude. What are you gonna do? You're gonna
Yeah, exactly. There's only so much. It's tough.
There's only so much. There's only so much. And can you imagine? Oh my gosh, I just thought of this for the first time. Happy Ilya Brizgal up there. But could you imagine? Oh, that was great. Could you imagine? Can you imagine scoring a goal and not being able to celebrate with the hug? The best thing about hockey when you score, everybody hugs. Can you imagine them just standing 6 feet apart and clapping for each other on the ice?
One thing
that could be.
One thing that would get better is after every missed foul shot, we wouldn't have to see a player slap 5 hands.
Yeah.
Nothing. I don't mind if you make it and you want to round high fives, but you miss, I'm not slapping your hand.
No,
not like that.
Man, this is just. Listen, we're in for a treat.
I think that the more all 4 of these sports can try to adopt the bubble or campus situation, then the better.
Football would be hard, man. 30 teams, 52.
Yeah. Just maybe Hawaii. Just clear out the whole state of Hawaii. Let's bring them home.
I truly love
and make it football or just like an island.
I truly love the NHL and to an extent the NBA's plan of hub cities. I think football would be absolutely smart to do something similar where every team just buys the hotel for a couple months and each team just kind of quarantines itself in a hotel. I think MLS is doing something like that, which is again the union are coming back and that no one's talking about that, but that is even a little iffy.
Yeah,
we've seen the Bundesliga.
We gave them a union minute. I think 2 weeks ago or something.
But I understand. I understand the hub city idea.
It's about 30 seconds.
Hard because thanks. Every team plays at the same time, basically. So it's tough. I personally would love it if football games were spaced out. 10 a.m., 11 a.m., 12, 1, 2, 3, and they're each kind of where they. But like to have a state-of-the-art football like field is difficult enough. It's not like basketball or even hockey where a college rink will do just fine. It's a little different. So, and I get kickoff is that competitive advantage. You kind of have to have most teams kick off at 1:00 local time outside the national games. So that would be really difficult for hub cities. Man, it's just so crazy. How the hell are we gonna get sports back, man? Outside of baseball, that's just crazy to think about.
It's tough. It's like I said, we want to try to stay focused, or not focused, but positive. But
that's what tonight was about.
It's like the more you think about it, it's tough. And I just to stay positive, I'm like, just realize like all of these owners, they're whatever you look at, it's an investment. Okay, say at the end of the year you for some reason go in the red, which you're not, but for some reason they go into the red. That's an investment. Everyone says, wow, they put this much money. And then guess what? Next year, season tickets are up. You know what I mean? And everyone will gladly pay it. Like, they'll get it. See, tickets are going to rise every other year anyway. So why not show us as owners that you're willing to, again, invest in it? And in my opinion, that's why, if you do the bubble, I have a lot of faith that it can work. But like the correct bubble, you have to get workers. You have to entice essential workers to have to stay into that campus too. And it gets
cameramen, all that.
It gets expensive, but make it worth it. Hey, if they need anybody on the broadcast side, I'll work for minimum wage.
I'll pay them. I'll pay them.
I'll gladly go down.
I could see. I don't know if this is feasible. I could see cameras with drones. Like, there is some, getting slightly off topic. There are some insane skate videos right now being filmed entirely by drones, so they get different camera angles. Like these
so
tricks.
Weird. I just saw something on Instagram today. Like
From Nija.
It was. I think it was either. It was like Adidas or something. If
it was the bear, Nija just came out with a new shoe, so that probably was it. And the drone comes by and it does a crook down like a 20 stair. It's insane. But the camera angle is something I've never seen before. Maybe that could be something where you don't need a handheld camera operator. They could just be, from behind a safe distance operating a drone. That could be a little shaky, and there's wind and rain and all the other elements to deal with. So maybe a little easier indoors or for baseball. But, we're going to see. I said it about music and movies and stuff. We're going to get some of the greatest music ever written during this quarantine. We're going to get some of the greatest ideas and new innovations for sports technology than we've ever seen before, because quite frankly, leagues are going to be forced to do it. So that, if nothing else, is exciting. If baseball doesn't mic the players, they have missed the greatest opportunity they could have to make their sport more relevant again.
I was just going to say, this is going to be the audio engineer's time to shine.
Oh,
and
I
think how like the mics and there's a lot of new technology on that end. Like, look, we got, look, you got an 85-inch TV behind you. I got the 55. Like, we all got the huge 4K beautiful. We all know about video. Let's give the audio guys some love now this year, because there's more than likely there's not going to be any fans in the stands. So I don't need that 70s show like laugh tracks put in. I need to hear Deshaun Jackson talking shit on like the Cowboys. Like, that's what I want to hear. I don't want to, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. I want to hear.
I don't know.
I want to hear some like banter, or like when the refs are huddled up. Maybe we get in on that. You know.
I'm a fan of pumping in crowd noise.
Yeah.
Especially for football. If there's no crowd noise, everyone's gonna hear the play calls. Like, what? They're gonna run. I can hear you, Carson.
Well, so you mean in the stadium, right?
Yeah.
So in stadium, I get it, but through.
Oh, you mean on the actual broadcast?
Yeah, like I don't want them like
none of that,
because that's what we're like hearing, and it's like as far as like that goes, like I think some music, like definitely, like you don't want to just have it silent like it's a high school game. Like,
royalty-free music. Thank you very much. I want elevator music behind my baseball game. I don't know. I listen. They're gonna move another person in the booth. Like, they have to put more than a 2-person booth, or maybe even in some cases a 4-person booth. Wrestling has had to do it without fans, because wrestling, they literally call spots to each other during matches. So they've had to get innovative of how they do matches in wrestling, and commentators because there's no crowd noise and stuff. So I can see that that dead air that would normally be in a 2-person thing be filled by a sideline reporter who has the player mic'd up and they're having a conversation. Like Anthony Rizzo and Chris Bryant during spring training #1. Today was spring training 2, the Phillies reported. But like, that was one of the greatest spring training games I watched, because Anthony Rizzo was hilarious, and his banter back and forth with the opposing team was great. And I think we need that, and especially when the players know their mic, they'll keep the foul language to a minimum, but there's going to be slip-ups, and that'll be fun too to catch it all live. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I'm absolutely. Excited for that. Again, I think it's gonna, and these will be things that we will more than likely take forward too when we get back to like the old normal and not the new normal. But we want to get back to the new normal that Doug said when we were winning Super Bowls. Let's get back to that new normal of old.
Yeah, listen, man.
That was a brain twister.
I think we are going to see the ultimate display of coaching. Like, I think coaching in this new world without fans and backgrounds. Listen, the Astros are screwed. Everybody hear the trash can now. But
no, but you know what? We talked about this last week. They're kind of saved in the sense that, look, I wanted to buy tickets against the Astros to boo them. You know what I mean? Like,
of course. Believe me, they know.
By the time fans are in the stands, that's all like it's already out of most people's minds, because I don't know, there's a global pandemic, and
not Philly. We'll remember.
Yeah,
and it didn't affect us. It didn't even affect us.
No, but I'm scoring for some reason.
I can't. But like, to me,
that
man,
was in like 6th grade. People don't forget.
this is where coaches. We didn't let Scott Rowland go for a decade. We didn't let JT Drew go for.
I'll still throw a beer can at him.
So I think like coaching decisions, like okay, so hockey, you have to call line changes on the fly, and you yell them because the players are on the ice. That's going to be completely different now. How are line changes going to work in hockey? Are they going to be 15 seconds longer, and then they're going to wait for maybe it's just predetermined. Maybe Vigneault is going to yell 7, and then the players will just know. But that's also difficult because the communication on the bench has to be a lot stronger, because if he has to make a change to those lines, hey, Konechny, is just not working on the first line tonight. We want to throw Raffle up there. I don't know when that would ever happen, but if that has to occur, then it's got to be a smarter way to call that. Basketball is just like 2, all right, 2, so they kind of know it's not that big of a change. And football, man, Chip Kelly was ahead of his time with the big posters or whatever, when the guys on the sideline was hang up Donald Duck, and they would know the play.
We gotta go back to that.
They might have to go back to that. So we're going to get very inventive. Oh, I think I read something about baseball not being able to touch their face for signs this year.
Oh yeah.
So like, can you imagine
the nose is always the indicator.
The nose, you got to go do it's whatever you did on the second to last one. That's it. That's all. So maybe they're going to do like disco now or something. You just never know. The sign game, man, I'm telling you, coaching is going to be a lot deeper this year, and I'm excited for those.
And not only the X's and O's, but to keep like this is where Charlie Manuel, like he exceeded, and I think this is what Doug Peterson, I think he's really good at it too, which is like the emotional intelligence part of it, and connecting with your players, and kind of like pleading with them to follow said rules and guidelines, because let's face it, if we go full steam ahead and everything works out, the teams that are most prepared right now, as far as like in shape go, and as far as people following these guidelines once things go, because if a star goes down and the league says we're still going,
which will happen.
Then that's something that you gotta deal with as a team, and the more you can prevent that, I think may or may not speak to coaching too.
Hey man, Dougie P's not the 9th best coach in the NFL for nothing.
Oh, man, I actually downloaded that list and I got it saved right on my in case we brought that up, because that was
I've spoken so much about that article. I'm gonna go mad.
I don't know. That wasn't. It's got a lot of recency bias. But then why is John Harbaugh like there? You know what I mean? It's like
Dougie P is. I'm fine with the list outside of Shanahan and McVay.
I'm gonna try to like move myself so chat can see what we're talking about here. It's produced on the fly.
If Doug was ahead of Shanahan and McVay, I'd live with the rest of us. Even Pete Carroll, I'd be fine with it. Pete Carroll dominates the Eagles, and everybody's McVay argument is, well, he's 2-0 against Seattle. Came in here twice last year alone and beat the Eagles by the same score once in the playoffs. I'm fine with Pete Carroll getting the nod there, but oh man, like
so. I'm a little wacky on screen right now. I'm gonna hunker down so chat can kind of see. But yeah, here's the list. I'll show it to chat for a little bit. But yeah, Belichick, Reed, Harbaugh, Sean Payton, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, Mike Tomlin, Pete Carroll, Doug Peterson, Mike Zimmer. I mean, yeah.
I'm surprised Mike McCarthy's not on the list, even though he was fired and now he's Dallas' coach.
How in quarantine was the writer of this list?
He said he was like, I was trolling Eagles fans because I knew I'd get hate. And it's like, you say McVay's only in his 3rd year, Dougie P's only in his 4th. Come on.
It just doesn't make sense. I guess. Do you agree with even 1 and 2? Like, obviously, 1, Belichick. It's hard to
he's the greatest coach of all time. He's the greatest coach of all time.
Does Reed get 2?
Yeah.
Because I agree with it. I'm just asking. Sean Payton. I could see Sean Payton maybe getting ahead of him.
Andy Reid was the 2nd best coach in football when he was here. His message was dry. He needed a change of scenery. The Eagles needed a change of scenery. It didn't make him any less effective of a coach. He was still, in my opinion, a top 2 to 3 coach even when he was here. We all just knew it was just after 14 years or whatever it was, just time to move on. And I love Big Red. I'm so happy that KC won that football game. So,
we got ours first.
He got his ring. Right, exactly. How can
That's
you
the only
care?
reason why I can be happy for him, though. I'm not
Exactly.
even gonna lie.
But guess what? It happened that way, so whatever.
Because
Can't
we
change
won
the
ours
past.
first, I will be a good sport.
That's right. And
Had
guess
we
what?
not, I wouldn't be as
If
good. Of a
Andy,
sport.
it's not like Andy Reid chose to leave. He was fired. So even if he won his before the Eagles did, I'd have still rooting, whatever, for Big Red.
Right.
I love Andy. So I definitely agree. He's the second best coach in football. Who was third on that list?
Harbaugh.
Ooh, yeah.
Which again,
The
he's got a
Ravens.
Super Bowl. He is coming back into the fold.
The Ravens are always that team that was kind of there, and now they've risen to prominence. I love what he's done with Lamar Jackson. I don't know if Lamar Jackson is long term the quarterback of that franchise, at least from a passing perspective. There's a lot of metrics that you can argue for both sides of Lamar Jackson's play with his arm. But man, how can you say no right now? I would tend to agree. Who's four?
I would go Peyton above him. In
Ooh,
my opinion,
I think Sean Payton's overrated.
Yeah.
And he's kind of a D-bag.
I mean, I'm not denying the D-bag thing, but just look at the track record.
I guess, but
it's really hard to argue against them. The Saints
you're not
have been
wrong.
The Saints have been pretty damn good. I get that he's had Drew Brees, but then what do you say about Belichick? Like, does that make Belichick's resume move?
Exactly. But under Sean Payton, there was the scandal with the Greg Williams thing.
Oh yeah,
there's Punchgate or whatever the hell it was called, where he tried to injure people.
Yeah, I forget whatever gate that was called. Injury gate.
It was a gate. So there was that.
Gate.
He's gotten to the Super Bowl and won it in 2009, but since then it's been 11 years of getting there and failing. So like there are things, but guess what? If Doug Peterson made the playoffs 9 out of 11 years or whatever it was, we'd be saying that Doug deserves to be 4. So I guess I can't really hate on the pick. I just think that's more me being a Sean Payton hater. So I guess.
Yeah, again, if you say Harbaugh should be there, I wouldn't like vehemently disagree. I just kind of would. But then here's where it just like the McVay, Shanahan McVay.
That's all recency. That's the hot young coach.
Again,
thing.
like even Tomlin deserves to be over these guys.
Yes. Well, over, I don't know. He should be on it. I don't know about over.
Now, like I'm putting Peterson above Tomlin and probably
yes, and they didn't, right?
Carroll.
Tomlin was 7. Wasn't Tomlin 7?
Tomlin 7, Peterson 9.
Yeah, I'm going Peterson over Tomlin. I'm going Peterson over McVay, Peterson over Shanahan. But Carroll was on that list, so I'd probably go Carroll, Dougie P. So I'd probably go Dougie P at 6. Joe thinks 5. I think 6. He thinks Tomlin shouldn't be there at all.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, just even thinking about what they did last year with like no quarterback and
in a decent division outside of Cincinnati.
Yeah, I mean, I hate the Steelers, but I give them credit. I've always said I think Mike Tomlin's a good coach. The thing about that is he's not like an offensive minded coach. So I always want the offensive.
You could always just say that coach. Bill O'Brien is the best coach in football. He's clearly the best GM. So, there's that. Can we get some love for Sean McDermott though? Buffalo is, I'm biased. Buffalo is my second favorite team and have been and will be, but like he was with the Eagles before, but can we give a little credit? Josh Allen stinks and they're going to win the division this year. They damn near won it last year. They should have beaten the Texans. So that was a little bit of a collapse, I guess. But I think Sean McDermott deserves some love in that. And I would put him over Zimmer at number 10.
Jay Ziggy coming in with the first one to be the 3-month subscriber. Thank you, Jamie. Go Birds is the message.
What up? What up?
So yeah, thank you very much. Hope you're having a lovely evening. Doug should be top 5 though. Getting back. Yeah, he's close. If not, like
6. I think 6. 100%. I'm married to 6. I'd feel good.
Yeah.
But again, it's an arbitrary top 10 with some CBS Sports. Who cares?
Yeah,
more important things.
They had a punters list too, and I couldn't find. I was looking for like this graphic to send you earlier, and I ended up like wasting a little too much time at work.
Off-season clickbait,
trying to get it out there. I was like trying to respond with that, and eventually I gave up.
Off-season clickbait. It worked. Move on. Let's talk about baseball.
It worked. Yeah, exactly. That's funny. I'm literally just as you said. Let's talk about it. I was clicking the link, the Phillies, the roster. The 54-man roster now has been
Mm-hmm.
confirmed. They're
Yeah,
allowed
they
60.
re-signed Anthony Swarzak to make it 54.
So yeah, what are your initial thoughts as far as people that surprises that are on and maybe not on the roster?
I love the fact that Connor Siebold and Damon Jones are on the roster. I kind of feel like they had to be. Outside of Spencer Howard, they're arguably the two best pitching prospects the Phillies have. You can throw Mick Abel, first round pick this year, into that mix, but he's an 18-year-old high school arm. He's just not there yet. So I was really happy that they could potentially turn some heads. I think Damon Jones has the opportunity to be Andrew Miller out of the bullpen, if not a fourth to fifth starter from the left side, which the Phillies desperately need. I think Connor Siebold is a don't sleep on him fourth starter kind of guy, and I know that that's not sexy, and I know that we want every prospect to come up and be Nola, Hamels, and things of that nature, but at the end of the day, you don't build a rotation with five aces. Nobody has. You can get three like Washington, but nobody has a five-man ace rotation. You got to have those young, cheap, controllable pieces in that 3, 4, 5 spot. And you have Nola, you have Wheeler. I didn't love the Wheeler signing because I think they gave him number 2 money, and I think he's a number 3. But again, whatever. I'm not Matt Klentak. So you have your top 2 solidified. Arrieta, Eflin, whatever. Arrieta could be a fine 3 if he's healthy. I'm still a believer. And then you have the Vinny V and Pivetta battle for number 5. I think that'll go to Spencer Howard. He's your best prospect. He's the most exciting arm. I wrote about him last April before he became a thing. So I take a lot of I boast about that more than I should. But I really like what Spencer Howard brings. He's so friggin' dominant. They have him on an innings limit. So what better way to stretch that innings limit out than over a 60-game season at the big league level where you can really, work on your game. And this is a 4th place team last year who now has to play 40 games against the division, which include the World Series champions, a 93-win Braves team or whatever, and the Mets who always have the Phillies number, it seems. So that's rough. And the Marlins beat the Phillies last year in the season series, or at least came close to it. So they even have to contend there. And then you have 20 games against the Red Sox, Yankees, Rays, who combined to win an average of 93 games last year. The Blue Jays have an up-and-coming roster. And then, the Orioles, which will be the freebies for the Phils. But so does everybody else in the division get those freebies. So this is going to be an incredibly, incredibly tough schedule. That's why you need the Alec Boehms, the Spencer Howards, the Damon Jones, the Connor Siebold's to come up and perform. And I love the fact that they're on that 54-man roster because they get that opportunity to do so. Give me all of the Damon Jones, the Connor Siebold's. And you know what? There could be a day where Odubel Herrera rejoins this team. I'll drop the mic at that point.
Oof, let's hope not. Yeah, but like you were saying
he's rehabilitated himself. He's done a lot of positive things. I believe in second chances. Again, I don't know if I believe in them for what he did. That is
I don't
inexcusable.
I don't like him like in general. Like I thought he was just a terrible player. Like anyway, he just low IQ. Like made mistakes that I make when I'm playing Counter-Strike. Just no brain.
Is this an excuse? Maybe I'm making one for him because he did hit 210, I believe, combined over the last 2 seasons that he played. So he had. But would you try your hardest on a 99 loss team? I don't know. What I would have liked to seen what he could do in a lineup where he didn't have to be the 3-hole hitter or the leadoff guy, where you could hit him 8th. I wouldn't mind that, but again, as a human being, he made an inexcusable error, and I'm not 100% ready to just welcome him back with open arms. I'd like to see more, but apparently he's been very good in camp. He had a very good reputation before all of this. He's made public apologies. He's gone through he served his suspension. He's gone through a lot of the off the field rehabilitation mentally. So there is the side of you that says if you believe in second chances for one thing, you should believe in them for others. So I'm very on the fence about it. They made the right decision not putting him on the roster because that would have been a rough PR move if they put him on initially.
Do it on a different team. You know what I mean?
That's fine. That's fine too.
And that's kind of that's probably maybe even
Ozuna got traded after he
maybe
did it.
even a cop out.
It's
But
ironic that Roberto Ozuna did it with Toronto, got traded to Houston, and then won a World Series. So like he got rewarded for that. That's a kind of kick in the pants, especially for the Astros who cheated that year. That's just a smaller story in that big Astros scandal. You had Addison Russell, who was accused of the same thing. He just signed with the Korean League, and he never made it back to the major. So like, there's two stories there of opposite fields, and I'd be fine if Odubel gets another shot somewhere else. I
yeah,
agree.
and did he take a financial hit too? Because wasn't he on that like commissioner exempt, crap list? Or
He was
is
suspended at 80 something games with no pay. That's
okay?
rough.
All right, no pay,
So,
then that
yeah.
helps. Like I know that sounds maybe savage, but
Well,
that's
hold on.
that's a punishment.
You're a Mike Vick guy, dude.
No,
So,
no, no, and that's I'm again. That's why I'm playing this down the middle. That's why I'm saying that helps that
Same.
he did lose money.
Yeah, I'm a Mike Vick fan myself.
Again, that's why I kind of said do it on another team because Vic didn't just come back to the Falcons, and it's kind
you're
of like
absolutely right.
you kind of got to, in my opinion, go to another team, work your way back up. But yeah, and I was gonna end with all of this. Like this is more just I don't really like him as a player, but he does. I think there's always the argument that people deserve second chances, and I think especially in this country, we're like hard to give them. But it's
Cancel
again,
culture. People are tough to forget. Again, I'm not sitting here advocating for Odubel
yeah, I
Herrera.
agree. We're kind of playing devil's advocate to ourselves, if you will.
Yeah, I want the Phillies to win baseball games, but I also want women, children, and to be safe. You know what I mean? So
yeah, absolutely.
I don't know what way I fall. Again, I'm just glad that the Phillies made the decision at this time to not add him.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we don't have to sit here and debate that. We can just focus on the positives of baseball coming back and the Phillies having a legitimate shot to make a run. And by the way, if they make that run, all these people that think that the negotiations killed the sport and 3 months of wasted time, then don't watch a game. Don't cheer when Harper crushes a grand slam to right to win the game. Don't do any of that, because when this team or any team that you root for makes that run, believe me when I tell you, if we're sitting here in September and the Phillies are in first place or are leading the wild card, the whole 60 game spiel ain't going to matter. This is going to be a legitimate season in my eyes, even though it's 37% of a normal baseball season. I get it. But whoever wins this World Series, props. You're doing it during a pandemic where they have a freaking COVID injured list that, guess what? If major players on major teams are going to go on the injured list because of coronavirus, they're not announcing that. You're just going to have to figure it out when your favorite player just doesn't show up. So, like, there's going to be teams like, what if Max Scherzer in the play-in game to get into the wild card gets coronavirus and he can't start? I know they have Strasburg and Corbin, but my point is, like, that could happen, and anything could happen this year. And as I'm never going to root for players to get injured or sick, but the fact that it's such a toss-up makes me so excited to watch every baseball team play every game. I'm so pumped for this.
Yeah, that's like the water cooler conversation I've had with a few different people is, will these titles be legitimate?
Yes,
and I'm like, it could get to a point where maybe I say that it's not, but it would have to get really bizarre. I think if it were to get to that point, then we're probably getting a cancellation anyway. So yeah, I'm like,
I agree.
Everyone's in the same place. Everyone's in the same delay. Like no one had more time, and like, everyone's dealing with all of this, which again was why my earlier with coaching and leadership. Within all of these locker rooms is going to be so pivotal, and if you can get players to just for lack of a better phrase, walk the straight and narrow and just do play your sport, go home, play Fortnite.
The NBA is finishing its season and then having its playoffs. They're going to have, with a 3-4 month gap in between, they're going to have a full season. That's absolutely a legitimate title. Hockey is going to do a tournament with 24 teams that had the best percentage of points. But guess what? By the time the top 4 teams, and one of them being the Flyers, has to play, it's going to be whittled down to 16 anyway. So it's once the Flyers play for real, it's going to be just like the playoffs anyway. And guess what? Playoff hockey is the greatest thing there ever was.
Yeah.
So to get another round of that is insanely great. So that's a completely legitimate title because they played 90% of their season. Football is way too far out to be able to predict, but if they can fit in 16 games, that's obviously a legitimate champion. So that just leaves baseball as the only sport right now that you could argue the legitimacy of the title. But talk to me in September when your favorite team is in first place with 5 to go and you're like, I don't care. Then you're a fraud.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's insane. It's again, and that's why I said like everyone's dealing with it. So yeah, it's legitimate. So yeah, let's go win one. Let's go win a damn Stanley Cup. Let's go.
Let's go win one for the Gipper.
That's literally what
Let's
I said.
go.
I said to the one dude who's he's like I guess like he's a basketball fan but doesn't like he's a front runner. Like I don't want to call him it, but that's kind of what he's like. Oh, I'm a KD fan, but now that he's not around, he's like, oh, you know, like I like LeBron. It's like I mean, yeah, whatever, that's fine. If that's how you like it, that's cool, I guess. But he was because that's what he was like. Oh, so when LeBron wins his title, it'll be legit. And I was like, yeah, just like when the Flyers win their cup, it's gonna be legit. Yeah. That's literally. I was almost proud of how quick I answered that. Like every now and then, I was like, that's a good.
I have no shame in saying basketball is my fourth of 4. I have no shame in saying I watch every Sixers game.
It's my fourth too.
But 90% of them are on my iPad on silent in the background of whatever I'm doing that night. I have no problem admitting that. And that's fine. Some people say that about hockey. Most people do. And they don't even watch the game on silent. I have no problem if you don't care for a sport. That's not a problem. But the front running thing is rough. I have a friend who's a Seahawks, Yankees, Cowboys. Cowboys, Yankees, Warriors, and I think Penguins or Blackhawks. One of those two fan. And I'm like, you don't just be swimming in title count. How's that feel? You might as well just love the Patriots. Where you at?
Oh, so man. Yeah, no, the Patriots would be doing too much.
It's way too much.
If Flyers definitely winning, we're winning the cup pre-COVID. I don't know.
I don't believe it.
I honestly think that this situation now helps the Flyers more than it hurts because look, there was like next to no chance at the 1 seed. That's a possibility now.
They can't go any further back.
Could you imagine getting the 1 seed? Yeah, exactly. You are already a 4 seed, and you got there because of a really recent hot streak. Now, maybe you argue that they were going to just keep going on that hot streak and moving on through and get to the... We could hear that argument. I tend to think there was going to be a dip, up and down.
They just got shut out their last game before the shutdown.
Yeah,
so.
See, how do you remember that like right off the bat like that?
2-0. But I digress because the point is that talk to me in January, right after the New Year, when they took that giant road trip and totally crapped the bed and were a terrible team when everybody's like, they're not going to make the playoffs at all. It's such a streaky thing. Man, I would have hated to go into the playoffs on a 10-game, 12-game win streak because then it's just like, where's the juice? Where's the jam? I like a little adversity. Go in, a couple games over 500 in the last 10, go in, 7-3, 6-4, whatever. Fine with that. I'm not going to go nuts, but like the Flyers, man, I think they never, ever, ever would beat the Lightning in a 7-game series. And that's who they'd have to have faced to probably get to the cup. So pre-COVID, I don't think that they would have won the cup, but now when you have a chance to be the 1 seed and everybody's starting fresh with 4 months off, my gosh, the playing field has never been more even. They have just a legitimate shot as anyone in hockey, much less the Eastern Conference.
Do you give Moose any starts in the round robin?
He starts 1. He'll start 1. He'll start against Boston. I think that Carter needs to play Tampa because I still think that that's the best team. Even though Boston has the best, record and the most points, I still think Tampa is arguably the more complete team, and Vasilevsky is just what an unbelievable goalie he is. So I think that Carter needs to play against them to see how he can, handle that. Washington, I don't really care. Maybe Moose plays against Washington. The Flyers have had their number. And then again, Boston. I think Carter starts 2. Moose gets 1.
Yeah.
But then Carter's your goalie. Carter Hart's your goalie.
Yeah, and this is something that we Keith and I talked about.
I heard
think last week, and we were kind of like just mulling it around. And personally, especially if you can get that 1 seed, I'm riding Carter Hart. But
he's 20. He's 21. I don't know, man. Moose has done such a good job in a backup role. I know 4 months off can change that, but like he has done so well.
Low key the MVP of the season. I've said that all year. He's he is
No love for Kevin Hayes. I see. That's fine.
No. I've look. I have been. Joe can probably tell you. I have just been all of my words eating on Kevin Hayes all season. Yeah. Now, granted,
that's a lot of money still, though.
It's still a big a lot on the back end, and that was always my gripe. But let's forget that. Even still, far exceeding my expectations, and the leadership. If you were ever to take the C away from Giroux, not that I'm like a fan of that conversation, but I've never seen someone else just step in and be a leader like he has.
I agree with that. To me, Sean Couturier is the next captain of this team.
Yeah, that's true too.
If not Provorov.
Yeah, I do like the homegrowns. I do like the homegrowns. But either way, and it doesn't really matter who wears the C. It's about leadership, and I think that the Flyers have a really good leadership circle right now, and that again is going to help this team when we get the sports back, because what was I talking about? Or coaching, leadership, keeping these locker rooms tight knit as one.
Think about it this way: we're lucky to have a conversation of 4 guys that could potentially wear the captaincy.
Oh, yeah.
At least 4 guys, right? You can even argue Voracek. So we're lucky to have that argument. Matt Niskanen has been one of the best players on the team, and he just came in. So when you have a team like Toronto who was arguing for the second assistant spot, that's how little chemistry they have there. Babcock got fired, and he was supposed to be the greatest thing since sliced bread from a coaching standpoint. Oh, he's the next Scotty Bowman. He got fired. So, like, hockey's super interesting from that perspective. The Flyers have it. They have it, right? That's the sexy thing. They have that gel. They have the team chemistry. And on any night, can you believe Kevin Hayes is like a -13 on the season?
No,
like you never would have thought that, because everything he does, he's impossible to get off the puck. He's great on special teams, penalty and PK, or power play and the PK. He's clutch as all get out. Every goal he scores is fun to watch, and he gels so well with his teammates. You never would guess that he's like a -13 on the season. So it's just crazy how much a player can impact you, even though he's negative in the plus-minus.
Yeah, and the special teams unit too. I feel like he's had a really good role in that.
He's the best penalty killer we've had since Max Talbot, Jaromir Jagr. Best special teamer maybe since those guys. Jagr was an unbelievable power play guy, but.
And that's the other thing. That was, if I'm not mistaken, too. Correct me if I'm wrong. That second line power play unit was really rolling, towards the end of the regular season, which we can now call it.
Because of one of the most underrated players in hockey, Sean Couturier, was a leader on that team. He was a leader on that unit. And you have young guys, man. When Lindblom was healthy earlier in the year, he was good. He was going to lead the team in goals.
Yeah.
And you lost that. Like the Phillies, right? They lose Andrew McCutchen in June. They immediately tank and nosedive into a 500 season. The Flyers lost their leading goal scorer, 22-year-old young kid, 23, whatever.
Cancer.
The goal-scoring winger we've asked for years. They lose him to the worst possible injury, we'll call it, ailment you could imagine, and it brought them together. That's a team. That's coaching. That's the way it's done. They deserve a lot more press and credit than they've gotten, and they have just as good as any shot than any other team in hockey to win it all. And I'm so excited to watch this amazing tournament, dude. Like you said, baseball in the afternoon, playoff hockey and basketball at night. Could you ask for anything better? I submit that you cannot.
You could almost argue it was worth the wait. I don't know about that. I wouldn't call it the situation worth it, but
yeah, right. You're right. Just if you take out the why, and just the what, absence makes the heart grow fonder. Can you imagine the ratings on opening day when baseball comes back? And by the way, in 3 weeks,
I can't wait for any sporting event to be on during the daytime. Just like any sporting event to be on during the daytime would be so refreshing. Just something while I'm at work to
follow and
sneak
listen
a
to.
Peek. And,
can you imagine?
I hope they carry something, a lifeline, because even esports is down right now.
Yeah. I hope they carry some of the intra-squad games on TV. I don't think they will, but I hope they do.
Yeah, I guess the reason why you wouldn't would be putting more people
Yep.
there. So I guess that makes sense.
Yep.
Drones.
Dude, there would be so many
I mean,
more eyes
you could
on a.
put that on YouTube. Just a
Yep.
drone over the stadium, no
With
commentary.
whatever's on the scoreboard, just give us the scoreboard feed
Yeah,
with one horrible camera angle, and we'll watch it. And
yeah.
I'll sit there and I'll watch it, and it'll be awesome.
That's how you promote your MLB YouTube channel too. Come on, baseball.
Yeah.
We're the ideas. We're not even
Stop
trying.
giving us Royals games at 1 o'clock on a Wednesday. No, I mean now I'll take it. Believe me, now I'll take it.
Yeah.
You want to go Royals Marlins in an interleague? Oh, Marlins Orioles. That's going to happen 10 times this year or 5. But like, oh, Jesus, I cannot wait to not watch those games.
I'm looking at I don't have a calendar in front of me, but I'm looking at the Sixers schedule, and I see a 7 p.m., 8 p.m., a 4 p.m. So
That's cool.
What's August 5th? Is that a Saturday? Because if that's a weekday, a 4 p.m. weekday, like that's like, sorry, I'm gonna have to leave work a little early today. You know what I mean?
It's a Wednesday, so you can just go live right after the game.
And then boom, War Room Philly post game. Like these are slight positives that you're gonna get, and just forget local. Now go national. You're gonna have all day
1 p.m.
basketball. Like
Yeah.
it's gonna be running.
Mhm.
So
ABC, ESPN, they're going to carry the NBA games. You're going to have, TNT, TBS. TBS and MLB Network are going to carry baseball games, and ESPN2. Then you have NBC Sportsnet and NBC Sports Philadelphia. They'll carry the hockey, and whatever NBC Plus or whatever the playoff
whatever
games are all
news
on.
channel that they put the
CNBC, CNBC. They'll have that
It's
on there,
always
and
the
then
worst.
football will be Fox and CBS, and like there are enough channels that can carry all of the coverage and all.
I have
the
enough
games.
monitors in my room.
Um,
It takes
there's picture in picture. On
it
this,
takes 3 for our stream. So
we
that's,
have I have a laptop
And then
screen, a
there's-
cell phone, and 2 iPads and a TV. I'm fine.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, the addition of my third monitor to the setup has made streaming in the in the quarantine age a beaut. Cause,
Sixers have the second easiest strength of schedule, so that's also a good thing because
Yeah.
this team needs it.
Yeah.
That team needs some layups before they get into the playoffs.
Yeah, and like for as hype as I am for the Flyers round robin, I am like, can't we just play playoffs for the Sixers? Because like I'm a little.
It's too much money.
I'm just worried when it comes to the Sixers in that regular season, but it'll be nice. Look, you got a healthy Ben Simmons. You have Joel Embiid is said to be working out 6 days a week. And Brett Brown said he expects Joel Embiid to be in the best shape that they've ever had him in. So if you get a full in shape Ben Simmons and a fully in shape and healthy Joel Embiid, hey, I already like. I know I'm a little bit of a fanboy, but I already like our chances a little bit more.
The Sixers need a couple tune-up games, though. That's why I'm okay with the regular season ending. They need those 8 games or whatever it is to get the chemistry rolling again.
Out.
If they went right into it, that'd be rough.
You're right, and not because like you got to figure out what are you doing with Horford? Is he gonna
benching him?
Is he gonna? I'm on like honestly, when the move first started, I was like, I like this move as long as he's the backup center. But he's been the starting power forward, and now I do think that in matchup wise, that could have some you could make that into a positive in the playoffs, and especially at the end of games. But starting again, that's where you're gonna need to see who's your 4, or I guess maybe your 3 if you're sliding Tobias down to your 4. Shake Milton was extremely hot. What are you gonna get out of him when this all comes back? Are we still gonna have Furkan just chucking up threes and seeing? But as far as the Sixers go, Brett Brown, a quote that I saw out of him recently was that they, as a team, throughout this whole thing, took a long look at what works for them, and then he said they took an even longer look at what doesn't work. I don't know about you guys, but to me, it's blatantly obvious at what doesn't work, and it just kind of alluded to it. It's the chucking up threes. When it works, like if you're hot, sure you drop the three if it's sinking. But sometimes this team just gets totally enamored with the three, and they're shooting like 30% from the line. And
They still think they have JJ Redick, and they're not a great offensive team.
not
So
from outside.
no,
Yeah.
and it's I'll say this for every sport, but because we're talking about basketball, I'll hone in on it here. Man, actions speak louder than words. You can say it,
Oh yeah.
you gotta see it
Yeah.
before you believe it.
And that's
Simple as
why
that.
that's why like I see Ben and he's jacked and he's ripped and I'm like that's fine. Now drive that big jack body to the damn rim. Like
Yeah.
I don't care about if he's shoot. I don't need Ben Simmons to shoot threes. I really don't care. I need him to drive to the net at will because no one can stop him. All they can do is foul him, and then I need him to make those foul shots. You got to be more than a 60% foul free throw shooter. But that's what I want to see out of Ben. I want to see leadership. Josh Richardson, I think, provides, like I was saying earlier about Moose. I think Josh Richardson.
He's steady.
I think
Yeah,
he
he's
has
steady.
been low key the MVP of this team all year.
He's the
and-
type of role player you need to win a title.
Yeah, I think he's just been he's stepped up when you needed him to. I think he's really even in leadership roles in like the media. You've seen him kind of question the team when they need to be.
He's also a very calming presence defensively, which is great.
Yeah.
Because this team was boasted to have one of the greatest defenses of the modern era coming into the season, and we saw it in the first game against the Celtics. And it's been there in spurts, but it hasn't been consistent. So he is a very calming presence from the defensive side, especially when healthy. He battled, I think, an injury or two this season, missed some time. I don't know if it was a lot.
Hamstring. He was like a lingering thing. So
Yeah.
Again, ideally he's back full strength. And then Tobias just got to hit his threes.
I can't stand Tobias Harris,
Like,
though.
it's really because it comes down to that. Make your goddamn threes, please.
Man, I didn't like Tobias when they made the trade. I don't, I like him. He's fine. I don't think he was worth the assets. I don't think he was worth the money at all. There are totally Tobias Harris defenders out there, which you have every right to be. And again, I am as bad as a casual basketball fan as it gets. I'm knowledgeable. I'm just not like a huge fan in the X's and O's and stuff. But man, the Tobias Harris and Al Horford contracts will set this team back.
Yeah, so your Tobias Harris one kind of worked a little bit in your favor as far as like how it works in the cap, but the NBA cap is kind of diluted.
Fake.
Yeah.
Non-existent.
Yeah, the Horford one again from day one, I wasn't necessarily a fan of that. I guess if you want to call me a Tobias Harris defender, I might be one of them. I acknowledge he's the worst max player, max contract player. He was going to get that. You know what I mean? It's kind of like and we can draw it back to the Phillies a little bit. You're kind of just hamstrung now with JT Realmuto because of what you gave up for him. Now with the Sixers, it's not necessarily like I don't really care that they gave up Landry Shamet or whatever Shamet. I'm not like
he's a better three-point shooter than Furk.
Yeah, but I'm willing to you're gonna be able to replace a Landry Shamet more than you'll be able to potentially find a guy of Tobias Harris's, stature, just off the streets. So look, it wasn't the best move, but I guess if you will, I'll defend I'll defend Elton Brand. I don't think he made the wrong move there with what he had to deal with.
I love
he just
when
needs
they
to make his
signed
damn
Horford.
threes. That's all. He
Yeah,
just needs to make his
I love
threes.
when they signed Horford, and then I clicked on it, the story, and I saw the money and the term, and then I
Yeah.
stopped loving it.
I wouldn't
34,
mind.
37.
Look, when I saw it, I was like, hey, if you're signing him just to be a really expensive Joel Embiid insurance policy, I'm okay with it. And again, that's where they're going to need to find a young 3 or 4, to step up on this team, and that's something that if Korkmaz gets hot and something like that, we'll see. But as far as this team goes in the playoffs or the regular season end here, I just want to see them get on track, get the rotations down. Maybe go 5-3. Just stay in the positive. I don't know that moving up in the seeding is even possible for them. Like obviously it is, but
I look at these 8 games as strictly nothing but a tune-up to get your chemistry back.
yeah, you gotta. In my opinion, you're just gearing up for Boston. That's That's almost the question. Then now the last thing as far as the Sixers goes is it's going to be weird for them because look, they were quote afraid to lose at home. There is no home, there is no away now, and how this look. We talked about how positive the Flyers leadership is. I don't feel that positive about the Sixers leadership or coaching. So how are they going to be able to adapt to this? No energy, not even an away team.
To be fair, the Flyers also had a crazy home ice advantage this year that is going to go away too. So the same can be said there. I think people made too much of their road struggles at times. They kind of corrected that halfway through the season, but or after that big long January trip. But the Sixers, man, you want to talk about distinctive, definitive, just were a better team at home. I didn't even think about that until you just brought it up. That's a
Jekyll and Hyde, like
totally.
Like the records are
I guess the saving grace to that is so is everyone else.
Yep. Yeah, and again, it'll be. It's just going to be, and if anything, hopefully that's, again, those 8 games, that's the tune-up. Yeah. That's your energy, guys. Get used to it.
Because every team's on a level playing field with home and away, I think it comes down to talent, coaching, and luck. Because hopefully nobody gets sick, and even a sixth man getting sick can ruin a lot of things in basketball because of the way they cycle in and out of the game. The backup position, basketball is a 12-man roster. You want to talk about, every single player is as important as it gets on a basketball roster. You got to hope everybody stays healthy. Maybe they'll expand to 13.
Yeah, 14, I think 15. They might even. I think there's talks of maybe bringing it out to 15, but then it's numbers, and you add two people to every team, and that's it ends up being how many teams are there? 20 teams or whatever. So it's 40 more bodies.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because the NBA is the only one restarting out of hockey and whatever. They're the only one restarting a regular season that has already started. Baseball starting fresh and hockey skipping it all. So it'll be interesting to see I get it. There's going to be some jockeying for playoff position, and it'll be those warm-up games. But I'm interested to see how many people are going to be super duper over the moon hyped on it, or just all right, guys, this is like a ticking time bomb. Let's just get to the playoffs because we can't afford to lose anybody. And I think playing sports under those type of circumstances is it's a rocky road.
It's like preseason in football.
It's just get it over with type of thing. It's a rocky road because that could, as long as the players stay off social media, when you have no home, no away, just don't because Twitter can be a cesspool. So just stay away from social media. If you have a bad game, if you have a great game, don't let those things go to your head. And that's, again, where coaching, organizational leadership, team leadership really come into play of rallying these teams and rallying these players to come around for the common goal of winning a title. And it's not about an individual anymore. It's about a team. It truly has never been more about the team than it is now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, again, it's all these teams throughout all of the sports. It's kind of unprecedented. We're moving into this whole thing. So yeah, it's gonna be a little crazy. I just saw, and getting back to Joe, I didn't want to ignore it. He says he wants to get a Kevin Hayes jersey, but he doesn't want to jinx him.
Yeah,
I haven't bought myself a real hockey sweater in quite some time.
No, me neither, because I put on all this weight and I've been waiting. It's been I told myself I'm going to get a Carter Hart jersey and a tattoo or 2 or 3 or 4 whenever I drop under 200, and I haven't. So 240. So that's a long ways to go. So I just don't want to buy a hockey jersey that's too big eventually. So I'm just going to wait until I'm where I want to be.
That sounds good. That's at least a good reason to save.
Well, I'll never do it. So I just keep telling myself, I'm never going to get back to that. So the Adonis that I once was.
Just real quick, a couple last things. We moving on. I don't want to before we we kind of skipped around a bunch tonight, but getting back to baseball, we haven't really talked about the permanent, not the permanent, but the DH, full-time DH this year, and the absolutely horrible uh,
Start from second.
extra inning rule.
Yo,
And
so two thoughts.
can I get
Two
your?
thoughts. Number one, it's crazy that baseball is going to universal DH in 2020, not doing it in 2021. Then the labor agreement is up, and they have to go back to the negotiating table, which we might see a strike because of how disgusting these negotiations were, and they couldn't find common ground. But when that baseball is eventually played in 2022, we're probably going to get the universal DH back, meaning that you're going to go to it, then you're going to go away from it for a year, and then you're going to go back to it. It makes absolutely zero sense. It's all ass backwards. Rob Manfred came on. Oh man, I wish I remember what he said. He said one of the dumbest things I've ever heard from any leader in my life today about, he said there was no way that baseball was going to play more than 60 games anyway, even if the teams could negotiate something. Then why did we waste 3 months?
Yeah, over 70 games and this like it felt like they were
114 to 50. If you had 60 in your mind, then I get it. Like 60 is the number now, and we're in July, and if we got this done back in May, but the sports weren't going to start until now anyway. No sport was going to come back in the United States in May or June. This was always on track to come back for July, just because the time is a thing. So like to have the DH, listen, to me that makes signing JT Realmuto even that much more important. If you send him to a 6-year deal, he's 30 years old. By the time he's 34, 35, Bryce is still in his prime. He doesn't have to be that full-time DH, where Realmuto can catch 2-3 days a week and DH the other, 3-4 times a week, where then you have Rhys Hoskins that opens up those at-bats. Right now, for me, my DH is Alec Bohm. Either that or it's Rhys Hoskins and Alec Bohm gets reps at first base. Scott Kingery's my second baseman. Gene Segura's my third baseman. I'm still high on Gene Segura. I still think he's a 310 hitter and can do a lot of damage, either way down in the lineup at like 7 or at like the 2 spot behind McCutchen. But for me, man, Alec Bohm / Rhys Hoskins are my DHs this year. But it really does, the teams that made those low-key power bat signings, especially in the National League, it really puts that importance on those guys who made the smart look-ahead decisions. Because the Phillies, if they entrust their DH role to a prospect who's never played above AA, or B, a guy who statistically had one of the worst half seasons in baseball history last season in Rhys Hoskins with his second half, it's a lot to gamble when you have 3 teams ahead of you that are better. Arguably the Mets aren't, but at least 2. It's a gamble. So, man, Alec Bohm, you always expect the prospect to struggle right away. It can't happen. He's got to come up and he's got to play like a seasoned vet in a 60-game season. Every game matters. It's a lot to ask of a kid, but I love the DH, but I think the Phillies need to go out and sign Billy Hamilton like right now if he's still a free agent, and just throw him on second to begin every inning in extras. You got to get a speedster out there, man. I don't know what the thing is. I don't know who you can send out there.
They're doing
on that speed.
So I think they're doing because we were getting some Roman Quinns in chat last week, and I think
he'll hurt himself.
He'll fall over, but I think the rule is it's Little League, where instead of having a bench player, which would kind of make it feel majors, it's whoever made the last out.
Yeah,
goes on second.
No, I agree with that. So, I agree with that. I think that makes a lot of sense.
I guess that makes it, that at least gives it a managerial aspect. Do you put a substitution in, because then you could put a pinch runner on, of course. Bunt him over to third, sacrifice fly in. I'm just thinking on the fly.
I mean, like if you have a guy on second with nobody out, literally bunt, sack, bunt, sack, bunt, sack every time, but people are going to be swinging away because chicks dig the long ball. Small ball doesn't get ratings. So
over under 5 wins for Nola.
Ooh, you get what, 8 starts in a 60-game season? Maybe 10, right? No, more than 10. Something like 11 or 12. So you get let's just call it 12 starts from Aaron Nola, and that's if they go with a 5-man rotation and no one gets sick. You got to keep remembering these things. I wouldn't be surprised if they go to a 6. Pivetta, Velasquez, maybe they both go to the bullpen. Maybe they're both in the rotation. Then I skip Vinny V's day whenever he pitches because I can't watch it. But Nola 5 wins in 12 starts. I could buy it. Pitchers are not going to go the distance, though. You got to go 5 to win a game. especially early on. I wouldn't be surprised if the first 2 times through the rotation, these guys are going 3 and 4 innings, and you're throwing another starter like a Pivetta or a Spencer Howard or a Velasquez out there to throw another 3 or 4 to get you through 6 or 7 to go to the bullpen. So, 5 wins is going to be a lot to ask out of Nola. I'm looking, I think that's the number, is probably 5, but when you really break it down, 12 starts, 2 of them are shortened, and then the other ones, that's 10 starts. So you're going to win half your starts. That's a lot. That's like a pitcher winning 16 games.
Over under 60 home runs for Harper. I'm thinking 1 a game.
That's tougher than Nola. What
do you think? What do you think Harper's power numbers are going to be this year?
15 probably. I'd put the number at 15 for him. You ready for this? He doesn't lead the team in homers.
I'm trying to think. Are you saying it's going to be Reese or JT?
Or somebody else.
Who's the other then?
They do have. So majority of pitchers in baseball are right-handed. They do have a guy named Jay Bruce.
Oh yeah.
And he can demolish a baseball.
Is he gonna get the playing time though? And he's
gonna be the DH against righties.
He's who I was saying last week. We had kind of like a DH conversation, and it's like names just started rattling off for me, and then I realized how much I just love baseball. And this is why, so I started arguing with, I don't like the DH because it takes managerial decisions out. And then I rattled 17 managerial decisions that you can do afterwards. And I was like,
it just really takes away the double switch. Maybe it's just
different, and I'm afraid of change.
It just does. It just kind of takes away the double switch. That's really.
Yeah, and I love the double switch.
Yeah, when it happens once a month, I love it too.
It's so satisfying to pull off in MLB whenever I could play 2K. It's been 20 years, it feels like, since
Girardi really earns that paycheck for doing that double switch.
But right off the bat, we have a little bit of an advantage with Girardi being here. He knows the DH rules.
The issue with Jay Bruce being the DH against right-handed hitters is it takes one of Segura, Hoskins, or Bohm out of the lineup, and that's a problem because there's nowhere for Bohm to play at that point unless you put him in an outfield spot. But Harper's in right. McCutcheon's back. He's going to be an everyday left fielder. Let's not forget about how important that is. Yeah. And so he's going to play left. And Hazley will be out there in center, and Bohm is not a center fielder, much less even an outfielder. He's a first base kinda, but his main position's third. So Segura's either really got to struggle, someone's going to go on the COVID list or something like that, or just a normal injury. But that's the beautiful thing, is that's the depth that they could potentially have with an Alec Bohm, with a Logan Forsythe, with a Neil Walker, Josh Harrison, these low-key signings they made on offense to really improve their bench. 1,000,000% no more Sean Rodriguez type deal. It's a great thing for the Phillies' depth. But I think, at the end of the day, I was kind of joking. I think Bryce Harper will lead the team in homers. I just would not be shocked if Jay Bruce does.
Yeah. Hey, look, when he got here last year, he was on a tear.
He was the best player in June and July.
He was on a tear. And
don't put him in the field.
I was pounding my chest. And who said Jay Bruce is washed up? I was pounding my chest.
And 2 other teams are paying him. We don't even have to pay him. We owe him $2 million.
And you gave away nothing for him too.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing.
This water bottle, which has about a sip left, more than what you could have given.
I know we're way over time and stuff, but let's not forget about the significance of an August 31st trade deadline. August 31st trade deadline, dude.
Yeah.
And you have to be on the 60-person player pool in order to be traded. So there will be teams like the Orioles and the Marlins and the Royals and the Giants and maybe even the Rockies that are out of it that could potentially trade away another piece that, again, depth is more important in all sports right now than ever before. Those are the types of trades I'm looking for Matt Klentak to make. Not go out and get the ace that's going to be maybe available. Who knows if there will be from a bad team, but not so much get that ultimate starting pitcher, but get me the Joe Blanton.
Yeah.
That guy hit a homer in the World Series.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking for.
The back end of this pitching staff and even bullpen is it's certainly what's going to hang this team up. I have, especially like you were saying with the bench, I have really good confidence in the offense and defense as far as fielding. But man, what is this pitching staff going to do this year?
I like the bullpen. I like the low key guys. Like I like Bud Norris. I love Francisco Liriano. I like Reggie McClain a lot. I think he's going to get slept on. People think he had a 6 ERA last year, but that was in one game against the Astros. The Astros, he got lit up like a Christmas tree. The other games, he had like a 2.1 ERA combined. I really like Reggie McClain. I like, oh my goodness, I can't think of his name. Uh, I'll get back to you on the names, but like there's a couple other low key names that I really like out of this bullpen. Garrett Clevenger is who I'm thinking of. I really like Garrett Clevenger. So I like this bullpen. I don't love it because we still don't have like a closer outside of
Literally
Neris.
just gonna say who's gonna close for this.
It'll
team?
be Neris, and guess what? I think he's a free agent next year. So this guy needs money.
Hey,
He's going to pitch at the top of his game.
If there's one really weird fact that you can go in and look about that 2008 team, you had a bunch of people who were looking to get paid. Look at what motivates an athlete. It's money. Yeah, that's always my favorite thing to have as a player coming up on the last year of their deal.
Except for JT Realmuto, because I'm petrified he's not going to
be back. Yeah, let's keep JT. Let's sign him ASAP.
Give him five. Give him 5 and 110. That'll do it.
Yeah, yeah. And
5 and 110.
That's the thing with catchers. You want to really lock in on 4 or 5, and
it'll have to be 5.
And you know they're saying 6, 7 on his end.
Yeah, it'll have to break the record. It'll have to be 5 and 116 to break Joe Mauer's AAV record. And if Realmuto is really that concerned about the highest annual average value for a catcher, breaking the record, setting the tone for the catchers of the future, then he'll push for that. But if in COVID, even though he only has to stay healthy for 2 months and then can go test free agency is going to suck this year. Owners are already showing that. And Mookie Betts is going to be the prize of that class unless he re-signs with the Dodgers. So if you're waving 5 and 110 at me for a 30-year-old catcher, that changes generations upon generations upon generations of my family's security. Man, that's really enticing, and I would take that.
Yeah.
But who the hell am I? You know.
Yeah, and again, it's like you were saying. If he wants to do that, how far does he want to set the bar for catchers?
Bryce did it for 2 weeks until Trout resigned. So,
yeah. for 2 weeks.
But at one time he was.
Yeah,
so if JT
then
at
Trout,
one time that's fine.
Yeah, and then Trout did it, and so that's fine. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Real quick, you mentioned Segura. You mentioned his offense. How is defensively he going to transfer over to third base?
He was actually a really good defender. He's a little pudge, but he's a really good defender when he found his position. I would say more at second base than shortstop. We saw last year he was pretty bad defensively at shortstop, but he was looking really good and really solid at third base, where you really only have to range to your left. I mean, yeah, you have to get some backhanded balls at right, but you really don't have to have the range to the right because of the third base foul line. So he looked a lot better in the first spring training at third than he did at short at any point last year. He's got the arm to go from third to first. He's better than Maikel Franco. That is debatable. I just wasn't a Maikel Franco fan, so maybe that was that.
Franco was he wasn't bad defensively, and that's about all you could say.
He got what was hit to him.
Yeah, if it was hit to him, he was solid, but
I think the Phillies 2 years ago had the worst defense in the history of baseball. So for them to turn it around last year, especially when Kutch was healthy, to have a pretty respectable defense, I think that is pretty remarkable. And now Girardi, I think, makes a bigger impact than people will give credit for. Any baseball managers don't matter. People out there, I'm not a fan, but I think that'll have an impact. I think Hazley's a decent center fielder, but to me, man, Scott Kingery having a one position just kind of makes the rest of it fall into place. And he's your COVID guy. Like if somebody gets COVID in any other position, Kingery can go fill that spot. you know.
Does he play one position though this year?
Yeah,
Or
he's gonna be our second baseman.
He's gonna
Who
be.
else?
So
Cesar's gone. Who else is gonna be our second baseman?
Segura.
Josh Harrison.
If Bohm can potentially win third base.
He's got no glove though. He's got a really.
So I was thinking. Really so then, especially with DH, then you probably have him at first or Reese.
But then you're getting but then Kingery's out of the lineup or Hazley is. I mean, you could theoretically. Hazley's like the odd man out. If you really wanted to, you can move Kingery to center field full time. He's not a great center fielder, but that frees up Bohm to be in the lineup. Segura moves to second. Bohm's at third. Didi, by the way, we've never mentioned him yet. Didi at short. What a game changer that could be.
That's why we don't have to mention him at short. He's just
right.
He's there. We good.
And then Reese, at first. And then again, you have Forsythe, Neil Walker, Josh Harrison, all who can play multiple positions on your bench. That's nothing but a good thing. So, and then Jay Bruce could even DH at that point. So if you don't like what Hazley's giving you, they could make that move. And then kind of just deal with the growing pains of Bohm at third base defensively, because then you get his bat in the lineup, and that could be even more important for his development. So there are options, and I like having options.
Yeah, and that's, again, so having Kingery in center field, I like in my batting order, in my batting lineup, but just defensively, I don't know.
He's just okay. He's just okay.
Yeah, I don't know that I want to stick somebody like him out there in full time, but
especially with an abbreviated spring training with not a lot of reps, because he was taking reps at the infield. So.
Yeah. So that's again Scott Kingery. Him and Alex Bohm are almost like
Alec.
I know. I was like, I'm not going to start doing the Philadelphia thing where I just butcher everybody's
Chase
name.
Daniels, Alshon Jeffries.
Him and Alec Bohm, I think are like almost the wild cards right now, at least in the ongoing. I live in Indiana. Live in Indiana, and the local drive-in theater is wanting to show the Indianapolis 500 this year. Back in the 60s and 70s, I used to go to the movies, watch the diamond race as nationwide. Is it something you would be for today? I've actually seen drive-in theaters been popping up again. So seeing a sporting event though in that sort of I would never think to do that, but that's actually a pretty cool idea. I mean, again, you're being smart, you're following social distancing rules, maybe idling your car, and that's it's not happy for the environment, but I think in today's climate, if you will, I think it's a solid.
Did that person say they live in Indiana?
Yeah.
Is that Tyler? If that's Tyler,
Dark Sage, is that?
I don't know. I turned off the Twitch comments, so I don't have access to them. But if that's Tyler, dude, thank you so much for
Indiana's. In Indiana, the race is blacked out, so it's on. Oh, it's blacked out. That's unfortunate.
For me, I don't give a shit.
I'm being empathetic. I'm being empathetic for the viewer right now.
You're right. He's a friend of the pod, so I give him.
He says he's not Tyler. He says he's not.
Then I don't know who you are.
Yeah, screw him. No, I'm just kidding. The race is blacked out, so we're on tape delay at night. It's $40 to go. That's a little. That's kind of crazy. It should. I mean, in theory, it should be free. But that's.
So the comment was that it's blacked out and they have to pay to go watch it at a drive-through?
Yeah.
Is that?
That's sort of like the situation we're in, it seems. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's rough. Okay. Well, let's just put it into Philly terms outside of NASCAR, right? Like if the Phils were blacked out and it's just a regular season. I get it that race is a lot bigger than just a regular season.
Even call it an
game.
Eagles game. How about that? Because that's
fine. An Eagles game,
especially in Philadelphia, it makes.
Would you go pay $40 to go see an Eagles? We'll call it a playoff game because it's a huge race. But would you go play to see the wild card weekend? $40?
If it was the only way I had, the only way to do it, yeah. I would.
But there's this thing called streaming. I'm not gonna.
I'm
not gonna say we should do it. But people do it.
The tape delay, that's where it's the next level. So
yeah,
I would
with
pay
Twitter and stuff,
if it's live. If I'm going and it's live, I'm 100%. I'm in. Take my money. That's fine. It's a screwed up situation, but I've been working this whole time. I can afford it. I do a sports sports thing, so But yeah. Oh no, this wasn't today. He said he should. I think he was saying this was back in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, when everything was on tape delay then. Even the Phillies, I think the Phillies Astros series in '80 was on a little bit of a tape delay. The 1980 game against the Russians was very famously on tape delay.
But yeah, putting that in modern era, I would 100% like, and even just willingly like, forget the blacked out thing. That sounds kind of a really good idea. It sounds like a business investment. I might steal that idea, find a plot of land, and let's go.
Like, pay all the licensing fees you need.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea because like touchdown scores, you start honking your horn or something.
That would be the most. That would be. I live in Philly, and we get fireworks every night. That would be the most annoying.
My neighbors, they're right there, chat. Right there. They were putting them off in their backyard. I'm like, I like fireworks, and even I was like, yo, that's one, that's annoying. Two, that's really close to my house.
I also have a 1-year-old.
Yeah.
She's asleep.
Yeah.
Get out of town.
I love fireworks, but it has been like it's been a weird sub-pandemic recently. It's like the amount of fireworks going around everywhere. Yeah.
Just go get Mr. Softy
thank you
and
for
go back.
The follow, by the way. Feel free to slam notifications on too. We go live most Wednesdays.
How about that Twitch Prime sub?
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, again, thank you guys. Thanks for the follow. We appreciate that. All the new followers and everything. YouTube and everyone.
It's the Greg Hall effect. I know.
Yeah,
I know.
It just brings it in. Just brings it in every time.
I have no friends, so believe me, it's okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess I just realized we're pushing 2 hours. So
yeah, I think it's probably time.
I think it's about 2-minute warning. And yeah, final thoughts segment of the show. If you have anything else you'd like to bring to the table, that was actually Dark with a really cool little side conversation there to wrap up the show. I'm like literally, I'm gonna like after the show, that thought is gonna like you took space in my mind. I'm gonna think about that. That's
the hardest thing to do.
That's for real, to occupy space in this dumb brain. No, but like that's such a good idea, and especially in this market, like a drive-in sporting event would be so freaking cool. You could take Toronto, but put it into like the drive-in kind of aspect. You know how Toronto basketball they do whatever they call it. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just
Anthony's brain is 50% Counter-Strike and 50% boobies. So like for you to occupy space in there, kudos to you, Dark Sage, and sorry for misidentifying.
Yeah, and let's go Union from Joe, and
hell yeah, dude. It's not my final thought. I have nothing to say on the Union.
Just to remind us.
I hope they win the tournament, but they blow it in the playoffs whenever they make it. So I have no faith.
Yeah.
No faith.
So yeah, any final thoughts tonight then, Greg?
At Greg Talks a Lot on Twitter, at We Podcast and We Know Things, all one word, on the IG and the Facebook. Please download, subscribe, give a rate and a review to We Podcast and We Know Things, available on over 20 different audio services wherever you get your audible goodness. And give us a listen. If you don't like us, then turn us off, unsubscribe, and never listen again. We're fine with that. Or just give us a 1-star and then piss me off. But that's fine too. I appreciate everybody who already does, and I appreciate it if you do go give us a chance to check us out. We just interviewed an author of a really cool book, Rock Bottom at the Renaissance, an emo kid's journey of falling in and out of love in and with New York City. We had the author Mike Henneberger on to talk about it. It gets really dark in some places, like it's a mental illness, this, that, and the other. It's not just not a book about emo music, but that's what I grew up on. So thank you for listening to the pod, and I know Matt Klentak watches this show, so the final thought is, please get JT done. That's it. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off, I binge usually like 2-3 shows on Thursday or Friday.
I know. So I get texts and I love everything.
Because that's why I have to do it in binges, because I, for the life of me, can't just listen to a show and not text you and or Sam. And it's like, I'm like, they don't have Twitch chat. Don't be Twitch chat just to them in real life. And like 99% of the time, I still have to like, oh yeah, even if it's just innocuous.
I love it, dude.
But
There's nothing better than getting a text from somebody who listens to the pod because,
but,
hey, listen, we're over 50,000 now. So thanks to everybody who made that possible. I literally never thought it would. So
yeah.
it means the world. Even if you listen and don't like it, at least you gave it a shot. And that's all I could ever ask. So it's we podcast and we know things. Just like that Tyrion Lannister line from Game of Thrones, I drink and I know things.
Yeah, it's a really good hour plus escape for your week. Highly recommend. And that's my final thought tonight. So yeah, again, thank you guys for tuning in, both live and on demand. It means the world to us. Once again, Keith, get well soon, buddy.
Love you, buddy.
Speedy recoveries. Anybody that wasn't here in the beginning of the show, Keith had minor back surgery. But I don't know. To me, there's no such thing as minor back surgery. Maybe that's just me being like overblowing everything in my brain, which I
no.
There's
There's no such thing as a minor concussion, dude. They're all fucking absurd. They're all horrible.
Yeah.
He had a knife inserted into his body. Can we just get over that? Like, that's great. Dude, we wish you nothing but the best. Yeah, so, hey, just get well soon, brother. We love you.
Exactly. That's my final thought of the night. With that, thank you guys all for tuning in, both live and on demand. I am Anthony Pinto.
I'm Greg Hall, the #1 Donovan Peoples-Jones fan.
And we are